Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked them. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.
This humble, somewhat demeaning act would have been entirely out of character for the celebrant of the Passover to perform, since he would be considered as the chief of all, the one to be waited on and not the waiter. This most important ordinance was instituted by Jesus in the final Passover feast to teach a principle. He who was the greatest of all came to serve.
While they were reclining at the table eating, he said, I tell you the truth. One of you will betray me, one who is eating with me. One of them, the disciple who Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, Ask him which one he means. Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, Lord, who is it? Jesus answered, It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish. Then, dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, son of Simon. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. What you are about to do quickly, Jesus told him. But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas was charged with the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the feast or give something to the poor. As soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night.
After Judas had gone, from among them tensions eased, and Jesus continued to speak with the apostles. He now proclaimed his love openly and honestly for the remaining apostles. He gave them a new commandment, to love one another.
When he was gone, Jesus said, Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son in himself, and will glorify him at once. My children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I am going, you cannot come. A new command I give you, love one another as I love you, so you must love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another.
Now on this night, the night of the Last Supper, Jesus would eat his final Passover ever to be eaten before its fulfillment. The Lord, his disciples, and all of Israel consumed their Passover meal that night. This set into motion a series of events that would end with Jesus allowing himself to be consumed upon the cross for the sins of mankind. He would give up his life as a ransom for all.
And he took the bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them.
This is my body. Do this in remembrance of me.
In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup and gave it to them.
This statement by Jesus signified a new covenant that would take place between God and his people. The old covenant involved forgiveness of sins through the blood of an animal sacrifice, but instead of a spotless lamb on the altar, Jesus offered himself, the spotless Lamb of God, as a sacrifice that would forgive sin once and for all. Jesus is the final sacrifice for sins, and his blood will seal the new agreement.
We will now partake in communion as a congregation by intinction. Please come forward, starting at the back to one